Welcome to Vet Review. In this video, I am going to talk about tongue or walks. Tongue is a highly protectile, movable, muscular pigmented organ situated in the cavum oris above the floor of mouth cavity between two horizontal rami of mandible. It is the organ of prehension of food and is suspended by a sling formed by myohyoid muscle and is attached to the lingual process of hyoid bone. So the important points here. It is situated in cavum oris above the floor of mouth cavity between the two horizontal rami of mandible. It is the organ of prehension and it is suspended by a sling formed by myohyoid muscle and attached to the lingual process of the hyoid bone. It has three parts: root, body, and apex. So radix linguae, corpus linguae, and apex linguae. Okay. So this portion right here, the base of the tongue is called root or the radix linguae. The main portion, the bulk, is called the body or corpus linguae, and the tip is called the apex or the apex linguae, the tip of the tongue. Okay. So root of the tongue, also called radix linguae, is the posterior part of the tongue and it is attached to the hyoid bone by hyoglossus muscle. It is attached to mandible by genioglossus muscle. It is attached to the soft palate by anterior pillar of the soft palate, and it is attached to the base of epiglottis by a thick central glossoepiglottic fold, which contain hyoepiglotticus muscle. Important points here: attachments: hyoid to the hyoid bone by hyoglossus muscle, to mandible by genioglossus muscle, to soft palate by the anterior pillars of the soft palate, to the base of epiglottis by glossoepiglottic fold, which contain which muscle? Hyoepiglotticus muscle. Okay. Then body of tongue. So it is the middle big part of the tongue which forms the bulk. Okay, it has two surfaces, dorsal surface and ventral surface. So the dorsal surface is free. It contains various papillae and has a large prominence at the posterior part called the torus linguae, and it is defined by a transverse groove called the lingual fossa. Okay, so the important points being torus linguae and lingual fossa. So what are these? Okay, so this thing right here, this is a raised mound-like structure called torus linguae, and just in front of it we have a transverse groove called lingual fossa. So this is the dorsal view of the tongue. If you are looking at the tongue from the side, what we'll see? A structure like this, right? So this is the torus linguae and this is lingual fossa or the transverse groove. Okay, and the ventral surface, it is connected to the floor of the mouth cavity by a mucosal fold called frenum linguae. If you see yourself in the mirror and just hold your tongue upwards, then you will see this mucosal fold, right? So if you just hold your tongue in your mouth cavity like that, you will see a fold right here. Okay, from the front in the mirror, you will see a fold like that, right? That fold is called frenum linguae and it connects the tongue to the floor of the mouth cavity. Okay. Now the apex of tongue, which is also called the tip of the tongue or apex linguae, it is the anteriormost part. It is thin and blunt and has a rounded border. Okay. Now papillae are present on the dorsal surface of the tongue and they are categorized into two categories: gustatory and mechanical. Gustatory papillae have taste buds in them and mechanical papillae don't have any taste buds. They are there for mechanical purposes like prehension, or we can say moving the food backwards into the posterior part of the mouth cavity. Okay. So in case of cattle, we have just discussed that there's a transverse groove. Okay. So two type of papillae, namely circumvallate and lenticular, they are present posterior to the transverse groove. Also conical papillae, I have not labeled them in this diagram, but they are also present, while the filiform and fungiform papillae, they are present anterior to the transverse groove. Okay, So filiform papillae, it is a pointed cord-like papillae which is directed backwards. So it is a mechanical papillae and it is directed backwards like this. Okay, so this is the filiform papillae and it is situated anterior to the transverse groove, while the fungiform papillae, which is a rounded structure with a narrow neck, so like this. Okay, it has narrow tip and a rounded tip and a narrow neck, and it is also present anterior to the transverse groove. And fungiform papillae is gustatory. Okay, filiform is mechanical, it has no taste buds, while fungiform has taste buds, so it is called gustatory. Now, posterior to the transverse groove, we have three types of papillae: circumvallate, lenticular, and conical. So, circumvallate papillae are 16 to 17 in number, so 7 to 8 on each side. So, what do I mean by this? So basically, So basically, they are present in groups. Here, you can see. Okay, on either side of the tongue. So one group has 7 to 8 circumvallate papillae each. Okay, and they are also gustatory papillae. And what is their unique feature? That they have a depression called a trench surrounded by two raised rings, two annular rings. Okay, so from the top, it will look like this, and it has a depression in the middle. And in the microscope, you will see the transverse section is like this. Okay, so this is what circumvallate papillae. Now let us come to the lenticular papillae. They are thick, pointy, horny structures which are situated on the torus linguae, and they are present in cattle. Okay, so they are very characteristic of cattle. You will not find them in horses, dogs, and pigs, and they are present on the torus linguae. Okay. Now the last one is conical papillae. They are also mechanical papillae, just like the lenticular papillae, and they are anteriorly directed. Okay, so the difference between conical one and filiform is that filiform papillae were directed backward and they were present anterior to the torus linguae. Conical papillae, they are anteriorly directed. Okay, the position is same, but the direction is different, and both are mechanical. Okay. Now, there are some aggregations of lymphoid tissue at the root of the tongue, which are known as lingual tonsils. And lingual tonsils are very important lymphoid structures that we often use for checking the general health of the animal. And they're also very important in pathogenesis of various diseases. Okay. Now, the bulk of the tongue is formed by two groups of muscle. Okay. This is also important. We have intrinsic muscle and extrinsic muscle. Intrinsic muscles basically it means that they have an intrinsic origin. Okay, they have an intrinsic origin, and extrinsic muscles, they have an extrinsic origin or the osseous origin, and they radiate into the tongue from extrinsic structures. Okay, so both these groups have four muscles each. So the intrinsic muscle have numerous bundles of muscles that run longitudinally, transversely, and vertically without attaching to the hyoid apparatus. Okay, there are four muscle groups in this: superficial longitudinal and deep longitudinal, both run longitudinally, then transverse, which run transversely, and perpendicular, which run vertically. While in intrinsic, there are again four muscles from lateral to medial are written like that. So the lateral most and the medial most. Okay, so the lateral most is styloglossal, then hyoglossal, both of which attach hyoid muscle to the tongue. Okay, styloglossal muscle and hyoglossal muscle, they attach hyoid bone to the tongue. Then we have palatoglossal muscle, which connect the soft palate to the tongue. And last, the medial most extrinsic muscle is genioglottal muscle, which attach mandible to the tongue. Okay, now the last and the most important thing here is blood supply and the nerve supply. So the tongue gets its arterial blood from the lingual and sublingual branches of the linguofacial artery. Linguofacial artery. Okay, sorry for my botched pronunciation of linguofacial. So lingual and sublingual arteries. They are a pair of arteries, two lingual, one on each side, and two sublingual, one on each side. And they are the branches of linguofacial artery, and they supply arterial blood to the tongue. Okay, nerve supply is categorized into two parts, sensory and motor. Motor supply only has one nerve, hypoglossal nerve, while the sensory supply has three. Okay, we have trigeminal, facial, and glossopharyngeal. Okay, so this is how I remember it for the first one, T, 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 P. And because there are three T's, so three tri, so trigeminal nerve, which will carry what sensations? Temperature, touch, and pain. T, 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 P. Trigeminal, temperature, touch, pain. And it will carry these sensations in the 2/3 rostral part of the tongue. Okay. So this is the tongue. Okay. So we have three parts. This is the caudalmost 1/3 part, and this is rostral 2/3 part. Okay. So this trigeminal nerve, or more specifically the lingual branch of the trigeminal nerve, will supply this 2/3 rostral part of the tongue, and it will carry with sensations, temperature, touch, and pain. The rostral 1/3 part will be supplied by the facial nerve, more specifically cauda tympani branch. Okay, so the taste sensations of 2/3 rostral portion are carried by cauda tympani branch of the facial nerve, while the 1/3 caudal portion, it is supplied by the lingual branch of glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay, so the 2/3 part is supplied by two nerves because it has two, trigeminal and facial, while the caudal 1/3, it has one, so it is supplied by just one nerve called glossopharyngeal nerve. One more thing is that this caudal 1/3 part, or more specifically the root of the tongue, also receive some innervation from vagus nerve. Okay, so this is all about the tongue of ox. I hope you found this video useful. If so, then please hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed yet, then subscribe to my channel. Thank you.